This white man has the audacity. He has the effrontery, the temerity, and he forgot that he was literally on podcasts. He forgot that he was literally on live TV. He forgot that this generation that we have is the Gen Z generation. He forgot that social media is something that travels far. And he has the audacity to say this to Black people, specifically enslaved Black Americans. And then when I take a pause, went deep into his history a little bit, and then I found out that this same person sitting on the podcast talking carelessly, not minding to filter his words, is actually a man of God, a pastor that is pastoring church, that is gathering people to take tithe and offering and assume that he's giving it to God. A man that is supposed to be preaching the gospel, leading people to Christ. Even if you're supposed to sit on a podcast, are you not supposed to preach the gospel on a podcast? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Sonia. Subscribe, like, comment, and share, and credit to the original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you liking, commenting, sharing, dropping super thanks. Also joining my membership. I do not take you guys for granted. You guys are absolutely the best. With that being said, let's dive right into this video. I'll be back with commentaries. Let's go watch, guys.
If slavery never happened, then you would be in a grass hut.
Yeah.
Right? Well, we need reparations. Your reparations are that you get to live in America. You're welcome. You're welcome.
You get to have the Christian religion.
That's
live
right.
better than your ancestors.
The greatest moment in history for any brown or black country is the moment that the white man's ships arrive on your shore.
Let me tell you about what black people suffered through after those white men's ships arrived on their shores. They got hundreds of years of enslavement, oppression, abuse, torture, murder, rape. Not only did black former slaves get nothing after emancipation, President Andrew Johnson, a white Southerner, he made certain that white enslavers were made whole. Reparations, but not for former slaves, reparations for rich white slave owners. After the Civil War, blacks were kept poor, systematically poor, and with almost zero ability to grow wealth. Thousands of black prisoners were leased by southern states to former white enslavers in what were called convict leases, where blacks, again, worked for free while white men made themselves rich again from their labor and upon their broken backs. There were also sharecropping, which grossly exploited black work ethic while allowing the former enslavers to maintain their power and to continue to grow their wealth, their white wealth. Again, ultimately passing that on to future generations of their white descendants. Of course, during this time, there were also Jim Crow laws in place all over the South, which made it illegal for black Americans to occupy the same spaces as whites. Hospitals and bathrooms, private buildings, elevators, phone booths, restaurants, water fountains, everything that was white, which was everything, was off limits for black Americans. Black Americans. Jim Crow laws also intended to force black people into indentured servitude, to limit their voice in the political system by stripping away their constitutional rights to vote, and to control where they live. It was the American legal system explicitly designed for oppressing them. You know this though, Joel, right? So tell me, Joel Webben, your goofy little sidekick maybe, or anybody else for that matter, black people should be thankful? Thankful? America wasn't a different nation back then. In so many ways, we are the same country, making the same mistakes, abusing the same peoples, reinforcing those same old traumas.
If slavery never happened, then you would be in a grass hut.
This guy is a pastor, apparently. Yeah, let that sink in. Joel Webben or something like that. Yeah? And these are his beliefs. I did say it before. American nationalistic Christianity is not Christianity, bro. These people worship their nation. They worship their race. They don't worship God. They have no connection with God. This ain't no real pastor right here, man. This guy's a fool. So he's under the assumption before slavery, before Europeans arrived, all black people were just living in grass huts, poor as hell, Had nothing going on for them, huh? Is that what he thinks? Well, let me educate this fool. This is an example of a hut which was built in northern Nigeria. I believe this is Nupe land in Nigeria, the Nupe culture. As you can see, it's more than just grass. It's adobe, it's mud and mud brick and other materials. I'm pretty sure there's stone in there as well. These were the materials available, and with the materials available, they created beautiful architecture, beautiful buildings, diverse architecture, which I cover on YouTube for those who are interested in architecture. So just because of these materials, oh, they're poor. No, they weren't poor. These people had gold, iron ore, resources that the Europeans coveted. They traded at first. You know that, right? Yeah, Europeans were buying this stuff at first, but then they said, you know what, let's take over. Yeah, that wasn't a blessing. Them taking over was no blessing. Yeah, because they destroyed the systems of indigenous governance, systems that were already there, systems that worked well for the people, because many of these people were wealthy. They were sufficient. They were fine. Yeah. So the idea that, oh, only when white people came, that's a blessing. God blessed you. Yeah, now that you're a slave, you're blessed. Yeah, you're blessed to be America. You're blessed to be a slave. These people changed the Bible for slaves. You know that, right? And the Bible says, do not add or take away to the word of God. They were literally going against God's word with slavery, and they don't know it. Yeah? Just to justify slavery, just to keep people enslaved. Yeah, and yeah, that's good, isn't it? By the way, these vernacular architectural materials that people like him mock are actually being pushed today as an answer for climate. Do you know that? Because they're so efficient and friendly for the environment. Just keep that in mind. Wow, another grass hut. Look at that, man. That's Swahili architecture. Oh my God, that's so bad, isn't it? Oh, that's so grassy, isn't it? Oh my God. Yay, if this is poverty, let me be the poorest. I'll tell you that now, okay? The floor work of a grass hut, apparently. Oh, that's so bad, isn't it? Look at the poverty. Oh my God. Oh man, I wish my ancestors were taken to America, man. Yeah, they wouldn't be living in this poverty. Oh my God. Yeah, the white man did so good for us, man. Massa did so good. That's what he wants to hear. Yeah, sorry, Massa. You need to pay them reparations, okay? I'm sorry. You have to pay them. Them black Americans need their reparations. All right. As for the continent, yeah, that they need to be paid back as well. But then again, with the continent, we've got enough resources. All I would say is enough of the economic manipulation, enough of the proxy wars. Just leave the continent be. Okay. Let the continent rise. Enough of these little puppet leader, pensioner presidents. Let the continent rise naturally. Then you won't have immigration, by the way. You won't have that much immigration. Immigration in a international world trading, of course, it's inevitable, whether you like it or not, Pastor. Okay? Fake ass pasta, I mean. But but that's the truth. Okay? If you don't like it, sod off. That's what I would say.
Slavery was a good thing, and it civilized Africa. Really? Well, imagine if slavery never happened. No chains, no ships, no stolen lives. Here's what would happen in the first 400 years, and stick around to the end to find out which myth is really broken. Years 1500 to 1550. With no European ships arriving and no Africans taken, empires keep trading gold, salt, mathematics and medicine. Wealth stays where it's made. Years 1550 to 1600. Plantations fail. No. And sugar fields never take off. It's such a shame. Atlantic wealth never happens. But across the Atlantic, African ports are humming with steady trade and stability. Years 1600 to 1660. Knowledge expands through Mali, Benin, Congo, and Songhai. Bring on the knowledge! Scholars document new sciences, whilst engineers and healers refine metalwork and medicine. It's about to kick off, innit? Years 1660 to 1700. Kingdoms unite across rivers and roads. Trade turns continental, linking inland markets to thriving coasts. Can you imagine? Years 1700 to 1750. Workshops in places like Ife and Axum forge tools and engines. You guys know what this means, right? For the first time in modern history, Europe looks southern for innovations. Years 1750 to 1800. It's declared the Great African Century. Federations rise, industries thrive, and African machinery powers global trade. Meanwhile in Europe, economies stall, factories slow, revolutions spark, empires built on conquest start to crumble within, mate. Years 1800 to 1850. Out of strength, not suffering, comes a renaissance. African art, music, philosophy reshape global ideas of beauty, justice, and freedom. The continent they claim needed chains becomes the blueprint. Years 1850 to 1899. Echo, the capital of the Yoruba world, becomes the beacon of innovation. European students travel south for education, not conquest. But I wonder about their immigration laws. Year 1900, the reversal is complete. Africa leads in science, design, and diplomacy, a civilization that advanced without chains or conquest. You see, slavery didn't civilize Africa. Africa was the civilization the world needed. They said chains built progress. Turns out, progress never needed chains. If you want to know what happens until the present day, drop a part 2 in the comment. And until then, follow if you're done watching passively. We decode the myth, but we don't clap for crumbs.
Just a chronic lack of development, lack of contributions to mankind. No inventions, no philosophers, no true great masterpiece. If half of Africa was super developed or halfway developed and the other half wasn't, maybe you'd have an argument whether they got colonized or not. Whether they got freed from slavery in 1800 or in 1860. It's the same story everywhere. There's not one written language among them. They don't have books. They don't have words. And there's billions of black people. They do have that lower level of development, and I think that's why they underperform.
14 years, from 1863 to 1877, look at the progress that black people made attempting to be free, Blacks made great strides achieving political offices, developing private businesses, even setting up dozens of all-black towns. In fact, about it, we had built 60 towns. But white terrorists targeted them for destruction. As in Tulsa, Oklahoma, the first bombs that ever fell in America or on American soil fell on Black Wall Street. Y'all remember Black Wall Street in Tulsa?
Paul Mooney said it best. I'm going to tell you why white folks are mad. White folks are mad because got away. Got away. Got away. It's because they don't have slaves anymore. He goes, when we was free, we didn't have no jobs. When we were slaves, we had 12 jobs. He said, imagine if slavery was to come back, they'd be like, oh, welcome home.
Welcome back.
We haven't seen you in a long time. Your room is exactly the way we left it. Paul Mooney he was right. That's the reason, because all the wars in America were fought because of slavery. Right. Yeah. They wanted to keep what was the economy was slavery. Yeah. The first thing on Wall Street was slaves. Yeah. And so that's the whole thing. It's always about us. Yeah. Anytime they talk sideways, it's always us in the peripheral. When they go DEI, it means black people.
To them. But the thing is, the thing that's so crazy is that functionally, affirmative action and DEI mainly benefited white
women.
So we didn't even benefit disproportionately. We actually didn't. And now but we are being hurt disproportionately, because when they say we're getting rid of DEI, it's interpreted by these C-suites as fire all the black people.
Yeah, and then I don't know if the lower courts or something, but I know the Fourth Circuit ruling reshaped the organization and approach of DEI, right? I think going up against what Donald Trump was trying to do with DEI, was there a change in movement in that?
I mean, to me, it almost doesn't matter what the courts say, because the way that companies are interpreting it, the way Hollywood is interpreting it, you're hearing all these stories out of Hollywood. Just don't greenlight black stories.
Right.
Just don't hire black actors.
Period.
My sister's an actress. You know, June Carroll, by the way, hire her if you're making a movie. She's amazing. But I mean, it's like they're hiring fewer of us. They're giving fewer of our scripts green lights. They're giving fewer of our making fewer of our stories.
They wanted to do.
Because they interpret it
black.
And it's not even that Trump, signed a law saying you can't hire black people, but this is the way people are complying.
Well, that's just, it's always been in them. They're like, just give us the go. Just give us the go. No blacks, ha ha! But they're not going to touch the NFL and the NBA.
Oh, no.
Because I was hoping, I think you should fire all of them too, and we form our own league.
Right.
They were like, well, don't touch the NFL.
No, wait, hold on now. Don't get too
We don't want the score to be 1-3.
Right.
We got still be dunks and stuff.
Go crazy.
Jesus, who's going to catch? No, we don't want to. Yeah, you notice sports was untouched. Untouched.
Yeah, I know.
Because I said, why don't we? How come it's still black? Why is the NFL still 70? You know what I'm saying? Because whenever they're benefiting monetarily, sexually, or whatever, that's when it's good. But if we have autonomous happiness, then it's like, oh.
You gotta end that.
You ever see it at a restaurant when black people are by themselves happy? They go, they're making a lot of noise. They go, you are too.
Right.
You are too. It's like,
and you're complaining.
Right.
And you're complaining.
Right. But it's like when they see us, they say, get out of here. Okay, we'll get out of here. Get out of our town. Okay, we'll go build our own. Let's go burn that. What are they doing?
Yeah, we gotta burn it. Right.
Because we're running rent-free in their heads every day. We run rent-free.
Yeah.
This is all facts.
What do you think the long-term impact is going to be with affirmative action and the removal of affirmative action?
I mean, so I'll give you Harvard, for instance.
Okay.
The class the last affirmative action class at Harvard before the ruling went through had about 14% black, and when I went, it was 6% black. So it improved to get close to parity in our population. But it was 27% Asian. Asian Americans, Asian people are 5% of the country, but they were 27% of that incoming class. After affirmative action, those numbers are roughly the same.
Same, right.
The numbers of white men have gone down.
Yeah.
And so it hasn't worked out. And so now you're seeing the Stephen Millers of the world look at these elite universities and not see the number of white men increasing. And now they want those universities investigated. But what they're leaving out of the story is that for a generation, people like Stephen Miller, people like the late Charlie Kirk, have been telling white men, don't go to college. They've been telling him it's a waste of money. It's an indoctrination factory to turn you into a liberal, to make you woke. And so white men are self-selecting out of college. And so now when you open up the opportunity to go to Harvard, the people who are prepared to go to Harvard, who are busting their ass in high school trying to get good grades, are immigrant kids who they're chasing away. You know, the international student body is plummeting, and that's what keeps these schools open, because the international students, like our parents, the government paid their bill.
Yeah.
There was they weren't paying for it. My father got his education because the government of the Congo paid for it, then Zaire. And so when you take the kids coming from China, that full payment from the Chinese government is gone. And the American kids who need student loans, who in many cases aren't even prepared for college, you're now whittling it down and you're expecting white men to carry the burden. I mean, if I was a white guy, I'd be kind of offended. You want me to be all the pilots. You want me to be all the people in the Defense Department. You want me to do all the jobs. I got to be every job. I got to go to all the Harvards. I got to do all these things. And I've been told for a generation, don't even go to college at all. So a lot of these guys are not even prepared. So they're not even qualified.
But there's a lot that qualified. A lot of them are mediocre anyway.
So they weren't prepared. And so it's like they expected that this would mean that Harvard would now be like 80% white men. It isn't. The majority of college students in America are women. More white women go to college than white men. And so now when they're looking at it, they're not getting the white man bonanza they expected. And the Stephen Millers of the world are mad about it.
And he needs to go that little.
The Hague. That's one place he should be, The Hague.
He thinks he's so dope. And I think, and there's a lot of, did you notice the first person to get a PhD is W.B. Du Bois, right?
Du Bois, yeah.
But
at Harvard.
If you notice when you were in Harvard, there was just legacy people where they were like dumb people.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like, you dumb as hell.
Some of the dumbest people I met in the world were people at Harvard who were legacies. The smartest people I met. Ketanji Brown Jackson, I went to college with her. She was a year behind me. Smartest person I ever met. Her roommates, geniuses. Genius. All four of them. Because they had to work 10 times as hard.
Just to get in.
Get in. Whereas the legacy kids, they didn't go to class. They were high. They were smoking weed because they didn't have to even get good grades. It didn't matter. They grade on a curve at Harvard, so they weren't going to fail. You know, I got E's. When I'm talking about failing, I got an E. They didn't give you an F because they made it on a curve, and they try to keep you in. They put you on academic probation, et cetera. These guys go from academic probation to a ritzy job on Wall Street, even if they passed no classes. These people didn't work. They didn't try. They didn't have to do anything but play lacrosse on the weekends and chill and get high. We're producing a group of people who are coming out of Harvard who are no more educated than had they not gone at all, because they didn't have to even read a book while they were there, because they're legacies.
It's all smoke
and they
and
don't
mirrors.
deserve to be there.
At all.
in high school
At all.
and yet they had the name. I mean, I went to college with a woman whose name was on one of the buildings. Of course she got in. Her name is on a building.
All right, because her family, she's a legacy.
Her family's a legacy. So it's like that person, is that person smarter than Ketanji? No. But that person gets to get it and no one questions their presence.
None.
No one says, is that okay? But they say that this affirmative action genius kid from Ohio somewhere that busted their ass in high school doesn't belong there simply because they're black. That's
Listen to this. Check it out.
I understand now more than ever why white people don't like to learn about Black history, American history, because white America create many of the conditions it now condemns. So you don't get to enslave generations of people, publicly lynch them after Sunday church service, segregate them, strip them of land and wealth, destroy their communities, over-police neighborhoods, flood them with drugs, incarcerate their fathers, underfund their schools, deny them equal protection under the law, and then point out the pain created by those systems and call the people the problem. That is not accountability. That is historical gaslighting. And the audacity of white America to project violence, criminality, and moral failure onto Black people while refusing to confront its own history is one of the greatest manipulations this country has ever performed. Because some of the most horrific acts of mankind were committed on American soil. They were not done by the oppressed. They were normalized by the oppressor. Lynchings became family events. Black bodies were burned, tortured, mutilated, bred, sold, violated, experimented on, and discarded while people quoted Bible verses and called it God's will. Entire systems of terror were justified through whiteness, power, colonization, and a man-made interpretation of religion. And the most dangerous lie America ever told was that racism is over simply because the language became more polished. Ruby Bridges is still alive. The descendants of segregationists are still alive. The systems evolved. They did not disappear. So when people say stop blaming the past while actively supporting policies that suppress truth, restrict rights, attack education, control women's bodies, criminalize blackness, divide the poor, and preserve inequality, understand what is really happening. They do not want accountability. They want amnesia. Because racism survives best in a country that pretends.
This woman just said, if the trauma of slavery lives in the epigenetics of Black people, she's a Black woman, then doesn't the evil of slave owning live in the epigenetics of white people? And I would argue yes. My family, my heritage, I am Irish Mexican and a little bit of Germanic, but I also learned at my family reunion last year with our second cousins. Our oldest relative came over on the Mayflower and had a slave with him. Now, my grandmother married my grandpa, her being some mud of whiteness, and my grandfather being deep native Mexican. Her father was vindictively racist. His name was also Camillus, which is the most comically evil name I've ever heard. But she always says that her father's mother was the actual devil, and that we are breeding the evil out of us. And I actually feel it. I feel like a vindictive cruelty in my own mouth sometimes. I know words I could use to dismantle people, and I've learned to stop that impulse, but it only got easier when I stopped hating myself and falling in love with life and falling in love with the beauty of nature. But I think a lot of people, because they refuse to acknowledge that cruelty innate to their genetic makeup, they'll never escape it, and they will never make the conscious effort to breed it out of them. And obviously, like, I'm not saying you have to marry a person of color as a white person to, like, clean up the bloodline and the genetics. I'm saying you have to do a lot of deep and intentional work on yourself. You have to find that vein of malice and cut it at the root and suture it shut. And you just have to be aware of yourself.
It's currently Black History Month here in the United States. And every single year, I love to remind people that Miami, Florida, as a city, would quite literally not exist were it not for Black people, including formerly enslaved Black Americans, Bahamian immigrants, other Black immigrants from the Caribbean, etc. You see, back in the year 1896, the ultra-rich industrialist Henry Flagler had a lot of investment here in South Florida, and it was in his best interest to have Miami become an officially incorporated city. But he had a problem. he needed a certain amount of votes among the people that resided in the area that we now call Miami in order for it to become an actual city. 300 votes were needed, and amongst the white males that were registered to vote at that time, they only had about 200 or so. But the executives of Henry Flagler's railroad company in Florida had an idea, and they asked 162 of their black male employees to vote for Miami to be incorporated as a city. After their contributions, the grand total of the votes tallied was 344, with several of the black voters giving speeches to the entire community about why the city of Miami should be incorporated. Commonly referred to as the 44%, these 162 black men were foundational in the city of Miami becoming a city in the first place. Without them, once again, Miami, Florida would not exist. Now, despite the contributions of the 44%, remember guys, this was the Jim Crow South, and Miami was not the exception. Black Miami residents continued to be marginalized, segregated, and pushed into a specific section of the city of Miami that at that time they called Colored Town, which is the modern-day Overtown historic neighborhood, which even under Jim Crow was known as the Harlem of the South. Every single year, I love bringing this up because people in Miami don't like to hear it. They don't like to hear that black people had a massive, massive hand in Miami becoming a city in the first place. They only like to hear that, oh, Latino immigrants built this city, Cubans built this city, Colombians, Central Americans, South Americans, what have you. And that is part of it. We did contribute to what is now an international metropolis, but do not forget the contributions of black people. Because without these different black communities that continue to be marginalized in Miami to this day, the city wouldn't exist in the first place.
You're not going to notice racism until you start doing better than white people. Like, you're not going to notice it. A lot of them are not going to say nothing to you. A lot of them can tolerate black people now. Like, that's one thing that I've noticed. A lot of, like, they can tolerate black people just as long as you're in a position that's not, like, making them feel uncomfortable. Like, if you're like in a lower position, you have less money, you have less status or less education, then they feel very comfortable with you. They're not gonna say nothing to you. They're not even gonna bother with you. Like, by I mean tolerate is like, they can be cordial with you. They can say hello, greet you. Some of them might even be friends with you, but that's on the condition that you are not doing better than me at all. Like, I don't want you having more money than me. And if you do, they're gonna become friends with you and then try to get as much information about you to like sabotage your life in some way or some fashion. That's one thing that I've noticed. And it's not just white people. This thing is like with Hispanics, Asians. Is the world has this like, this particular outlook on how black people should be and where we belong in this social hierarchy and social realm.
Anyways, welcome back guys, and